Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the third episode of the Unwavering Believer podcast. For those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, my name is MJ Creel. I am 22 years old. I've devoted my life to my faith for some time now, but I'd like to say over the past year or so is when I've been really truly committed, and only with time growing and experiencing new ways, or learning new ways to experience God's love and peace and serenity in all different types of ways. Quick funny story, though. I was about halfway through this podcast, accidentally ended it, so here we are on take number 2 here. So hopefully we could move this along a little quicker, expedite all the filler words and unnecessary explanations I threw in there the first time around, and just kind of give you guys the good stuff. So jumping right into this here, the topic for this episode is going to be finding your purpose, something that I believe in the world we live in now, for people anywhere around my age, like I said, I'm 22 years old, anywhere around my age, people I think are with time just slowly, or not even slowly, more rapidly rather, starting to fall in love with the idea of instant gratification, of instant progress, and things kind of happening on their own time and not on God's time. And it all roots back to social media, seeing people that are, we're talking teenagers that are driving supercars nowadays because of the opportunity that is available to you with the internet. And it is absolutely insane. And I think, you ask your parents or anybody from a different generation how it was when they were growing up, and whether they went to school or not, you were, this faith, not regard to faith or not, if you went to school in our parents' generation or whoever's generation above us, you were ultimately always playing the long game. My father, he didn't go to school. He started his own business. He was doing it for over 30 years now. You are always playing the long game. If you are trying to make overnight success something that is consistent in your life, not only will it never sustain itself, it's like building a building straight up with no foundation, but on top of that, there won't feel like much reward, because anything worth anything takes time. Anything worth anything takes time. You want to build the tallest building in New York? Well, you better start with a pretty sturdy foundation. You shouldn't just build straight up, because it takes nothing to knock it down. And as corny as that may seem, it is just so true. And people, as one of the first few topics I have, subtopics I have written here, is passion. And people will, even myself included, because I went to school for a month. It wasn't for me. I went for a month just to kind of, appease my parents, essentially. But I knew it wasn't for me. Not that it was, really that tough. It's just knew it wasn't for me. And the reason I bring up passion was because when I got out of school, I ended up getting my real estate license, my personal training certification by the time I was 19 years old. And I didn't really have much passion in anything I was doing. I was trying all these different online schemes, paying all this money for courses and classes and mentors and teachers and this, that, and the other, you name it. And it was essentially just me chasing money with no passion. And then I would wonder why I got burned out. I look back now at 22 years old, and it's just silly. It was just so silly that I had zero intention on how what I was doing was impacting me, mentally, all because I was focused on the quote-unquote bigger picture that was being able to stand on my money and flex my money and show I didn't go to school. I was able to do this, that, and the other. And I was so blinded by that it took me to the point where I'm at now, that I am so extremely fortunate to be in the position I'm in, job-wise, and the opportunity to save money and to pursue passions and things of my heart that I would have never given the time of day just because I didn't think they could make me a millionaire when I was 19, 20 years old. And it's a really bad mindset. And again, when I keep referring to looking back, it's that if I was to have gotten that money, that this dream of mine that I was, using or pursuing through God, which was complete lies to myself and to God. If I would have received that, if any of those prayers would have come to fruition, I would have been on such a downward spiral. I don't even know where I'd be right now. My mind and how I valued money is literally laughable looking back at it now. And the scariest part is that people still do that at, 50, 60, 70 years old. People still will put such a high value on money that, it's great to have a roof over your head, to be able to provide for your family, both present and future, and you can live comfortably. I have no problem with that. Financial freedom, I believe, is a great thing. But when you serve money so much, you'll never be satisfied. And that's why people, what I'm getting at with this, why I'm tying this back to finding your purpose and with the passion subtopic, is that when you pursue passion, you're pursuing longevity. You're pursuing the ability to sustain. Whereas when you're pursuing money, that doesn't exist. When you're only pursuing money with no greater purpose, you are going to burn out. Either burn out or never be satisfied in an unhealthy way. Not being satisfied in some ways could be great, obviously, that goes without saying. But when it's solely for the sake of making money, to say you have that money, to say you have more than the next guy, to be able to afford things that are just for no reason, you'll never be satisfied in that sense. And But anyways, I'm going to step away from passion for a second and start talking about skills now. So now we're really diving into finding your purpose, the next subtopic here. And people, whether you believe you know your purpose, you just can't execute yet, or if you genuinely have zero idea what you want to do with your life, let me tell you one thing, because I'm sure that stresses you out. The fact that you're sitting here, maybe you're not even listening to this, this goes for somebody, again, I'll just speak on their behalf, even though they're not listening. The fact that you're sitting in, having an examination of conscience, saying, what am I going to do with my life? Because I genuinely have no idea. I have just the slightest bit, I don't have the slightest bit of doubt in my mind that you have good intentions. And that's a start. Having good intentions to begin is a tremendous foundation, believe me. So now that's step one. You've established that you have no idea what you want to do with your life, but hopefully you're giving it more than just that thought and then going out to distract yourself. So that's the exercise we're doing as of now. So you understand you have no idea what you want to do with your life, but you're going to sit in and actually give it some thought for once. You're not just going to try and run away and avoid it like most people do and with whatever distracts them. So now let's think. What can you provide for the world? Maybe what makes you want to serve, which is the next subtopic. What makes you, I'll tell you them together, what makes you want to serve? Or what type of service makes you happy? Or maybe you haven't served yet in any way. And what do I mean by serve? In any way that you're putting others before yourself. Because even times like now, when you feel nothing, when you feel like you have no idea what is meant for you, what you're going to do, at no point, this may sound rough, should you ever stop putting others before yourself. Not in a way that you're going to lose yourself and ultimately dig yourself a deeper grave. I'm saying you should never stop checking in on the people that need it. That's one. And you should always make yourself available to those who need you. And that may seem like I'm taking kind of a spin off here, but I promise you I'm not, because service, having that discipline, whether you come from a faith background or not, when you have that discipline to serve others, to put others before yourself, even in times when you do not feel exactly good yourself, or that maybe you should have somebody kind of pampering you or assisting you in this process, that is building a certain level of endurance in you. And I'm only speaking on the behalf of faith. I'm not speaking on the behalf of what the world will do for you. On the behalf of faith, you're building a spiritual endurance, a strength, a sort of love that God asks of us. When he asks of us to love others as him or as he first loved us, that is how you do it. You do it through service. It's not always just by being on your knees and praying. It's by serving others in the simplest of ways. So now I'm targeting mainly a faith background here, a faith basis. So if this is not applicable to you and you have no intention of even opening your ears or your heart, then this might not be for you. Excuse me. So now we're talking skills and service combined. What can you provide either for the people around you? What can you do for the world to make it maybe a little bit better of a place than when you first found it? Or what can you offer? What are you good at? I genuinely believe that every single person that has graced this earth was born with a particular set of skills that the next person does not have. I don't care if it's the slightest of skills or if it's the greatest, okay? I don't believe everybody. I know you say anybody could do anything. Some people I just believe are not destined. They want to be the greatest athlete or the greatest singer. Sometimes that's not always the case, but you could always be the greatest version of you. And I promise you, when you obtain the greatest version of you or you get close, you won't care what's going on around you. But that takes time. That takes endurance, durability. You will not ever find happiness pursuing the next guy's shadow. Pursuing the guy next to you instead of yourself, you'll never find peace. Because even when you surpass that guy, it's on to the next one. And that's why greed is so prevalent in this world, because it applies to everything and not just money. So now we're tying this back to you. This is only about you now. I know I keep talking about serving others, but now we're focusing solely on you. Between serving others, what you offer what your skills are, maybe something that you have that you think maybe not other people can do, and how you could tie that together. Okay? And this goes right into the subtopic number 4, your comfort zone. Oh my goodness. Excuse me again. Jeez. Your comfort zone. Being able to get out of your comfort zone. Becoming comfortable being Oh, wait. Let me say it again. I'm sorry. I just confused myself. Becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. Sorry. That, my friend, almost could consider that a virtue in and of itself. Becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. What does that mean? I'm sure most of you could probably put 2 and 2 together, but for those, if you can't, or you're not really seeing the clarity in that statement, it's being able to genuinely, just when things arise, when the opportunity arises maybe for that act of service, for that act of putting your skills on display, kindness on display, that you just take it. You leap into action. You take a leap of faith, and it doesn't matter how you feel, because as I've said 1,000 times already, if you're coming from other videos, your emotions essentially should not mean much to you. That's why everything in this life, faith, in regard to faith or not, it's tied in discipline. Without discipline, you'll never amount to anything. And I know that sounds rough, but it's the truth. And anyone that has amounted to anything or is going through it right now could probably, second that statement as well. So being able to leave that comfort zone to put everything we've just described on display. So when opportunity arises, it may not make even the slightest bit of sense to you, anyway, but you never know. You never know. It's one of the things the senior partners at the firm I'm at have told me 1,000 times when it comes to networking. You just never know. You really never know. Not that everything needs to be transactional, but just say you're going out, maybe you're at dinner or you're sitting at the bar or something with your family, friends, whoever, and just having, this is what they do, at least, is what they say. They just have conversations with people, and it just leads to things that you never even imagined. I mean, I haven't had many of those experiences yet. I'm fairly new to the firm. But it's just, you never know. You really never know who knows who, what opportunity can arise out of it. And again, do not make all things transactional, because then again, people will see right through that. If you're not authentic in what you're saying and what you're bringing to the table, they'll see right through you. And what this is all in regards to is that God will work in ways you never imagined. I mean, at the country club, of course. I'm sorry, I don't know did I mention that? Or is that the first take? Oh yeah, I haven't mentioned the second take. I'm sorry. Really quick backstory on how God could work in miraculous ways, just like I was just talking about. I was trying to find my way for a very long time, fast couple years, trying out different things here and there, really trying to get my feet wet and my feet in the door in every different way possible. Until my buddy offered me an opportunity at a country club caddying, which I'm gonna try and make this a short story here. Long story short. I was doing it for about 3 months or so into the summer, because I'm from New Jersey, so obviously it's not a year-round thing here, golfing. But I was caddying, and about 3 months in or so, one of the last loops I ever took, ended up caddying for a guy. I wasn't even a member of the club. It was an outing, which is, for people that don't know, when usually members from outside the club come in and they golf for the day, whether it's sponsored by company, business, whatever, organization. And by the 13th hole, me and one of the people I wasn't caddying for, but he was in the group, talk about real estate, how I have my license and how I was thinking of doing whatever it was. It's probably just making stuff up at the time. I don't want to sound silly. And he offered me a position. He said, just come meet the partners, take a look around, see if we'd be a fit, if I could fit the narrative, I guess, with their company. And one thing led to another, met everyone, we all hit it off. And not only did I land a job I consider like the job of my dreams, essentially, just with all the way the whole thing works. I think it's really, really cool. And without getting too much detail, what the actual job on the inside entails with the people I'm surrounded by, I couldn't be any more fortunate, any more blessed than I am. It's not luck. It's simply a blessing of me I knew people there at that country club I knew there were people there that were very wealthy, very intelligent, could definitely provide opportunity, but it just wasn't in my cards to want to pursue every single member like they were a transactional opportunity. And that's why I keep saying that God works in miraculous ways. And I really didn't want to do that, take that job. I mean, I wasn't crazy about it because my mind was so, I was in such a funk for such a long time. But then, tying into the next subtopic here, nothing changes if nothing changes. If you want to find purpose in your life, yes, you have to be patient, you have to be disciplined, but nothing changes if nothing changes. Prayers cannot be answered without action. And action won't ultimately lead you to greater good if there's no faith involved. So that's why the two of them go hand in hand and work hand in hand so well. if you want change in your life and you feel like you've been going through the motions for however long now, you need to make change. You need to pursue change in a serious matter, in ways that I've been trying to, kind of explain to my friends. If you really break down every part of your life right now, we'll start with someone who's working, for example, but isn't happy where they're at, isn't happy with everything else going on. Break it down. You don't like where you work, maybe. Maybe your relationships that you have, your friends, or maybe a significant other are not the best. Maybe there's things in your family that need more working on, more time. Maybe there's more hobbies or passions you'd like to pursue, but don't give yourself the time of day because you feel there's not enough hours in a day. Something even I say sometimes. It just sounds so silly. But break it down. Break it all down in front of you. Don't just let it be a lingering thought in the back of your mind anymore. Take action. And maybe whether it's on a whiteboard or a piece of paper, write these categories. Your career, your passions, your relationships, your health. I mean, anything that's important to you, and find ways to critique it. Find ways that you can start with little change. Don't always have to be so extreme, ways I've always been, and it never really suited me well. You don't always have to be so extreme with everything you do. Sometimes baby steps, even for the people that are the most crazy in their head in a good way, like, always want to keep moving and always want the big leap of faith. Sometimes it's the baby steps that ultimately lead to that giant leap of faith. You never know. Just getting your foot in the door, being at the right place at the right time may seem like a small little thing to do, but that it ultimately could lead to such a bigger opportunity. So, so just to kind of summarize a few things we went over so far, I genuinely am a believer, and again, I'm not a philosopher or anyone that's, built on some crazy amount of human reason. I genuinely believe that if you want to discover your purpose, you have to serve others, you have to understand and acknowledge what your skills are, what you possess that could bring value to others. It doesn't have to be money, it doesn't have to be monetary. It could be simply just that you're a good listener. And maybe you feel like sometimes you have good advice to offer people, or that you enjoy volunteering. Whatever it may be, I believe through, of course, all being rooted in faith and prayer, through prayer, through service, through action, and stepping out of your comfort zone. Sorry, I had to reflect back there for a second. And stepping out of your comfort zone I genuinely believe will get you where you want to be. And it may not happen overnight because it still takes patience. It's not like it's a to-do list, like a checklist. Like you do this, that, this, that, and that, then you'll get to where you want to be. It's not like that. This isn't a game. The way God works, to even compare it to that, is just, it's foolishness. And a big thing, I'm glad I wrote this down, I actually would have forgot. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes you don't always have to do 1,000 different things in order to find your purpose. Sometimes you need to just keep things simple. If you don't have a job, maybe instead of thinking, okay, what's going to make me the most money right now? And again, this is not always a long-term play or about longevity, but not about so much what's going to make me the most money now, but what's going to bring me the most passion, maybe the most fuel to my fire to get to that next step. If that makes sense. Not everything in and of itself, maybe not the job that you would take has a tremendous room for growth, but maybe it's going to lead you mentally, not actually on paper, but maybe it's going to lead you with the experience you'll gain with getting out of your comfort zone, and it's going to lead you to a place that's just going to set you up better for the future. Perfect example, not to keep referring to personal experiences, but sometimes I think this could definitely help you guys know that I've have these experiences in my life. I have a buddy of mine. I won't mention names. I'm sure he'll see this, though, and I'll talk to him about it after. I think it's the coolest thing. He, for a while, was kind of like me, wasn't working, struggling to find his way. Great kid, always smile on his face. Love the kid, absolutely love him. Someone I'll have as a friend for life. And for a while, it wasn't working, like I said. A little lazy, like I was, too. Or still, I'm not saying I'm not now. Everyone finds himself being lazy time to time. But he landed a job recently. And it's not the craziest job. It's nothing, with a huge amount of room for growth in the company, and it doesn't pay extremely crazily well. But it ties back exactly, I didn't even plan on saying this, but it ties back exactly to what I was just saying about not always taking things in that crazy big jump. Finding the perfect company, the perfect job, the perfect pay, the perfect room for growth. Finding the thing that's going to give you the experience to set you up later. That's exactly what he did. This job, whether it's his intention or not, is not the best job in the world, not the thing I believe is going to stick out for the rest of his life. but it's the thing that gave him a reason to wake up in the morning, to give him structure, to establish some discipline, some real life interaction, a piece of the corporate world in regards to working. And that ultimately is going to make his leap into the next job, to his next his full purpose career, whatever it is, that much easier. It may not be a cakewalk, but I promise you it'll be a lot easier going from where you're at now, if you're at a place that it just gets you out of your comfort zone a tad, and to then transition into the place that you wanted to be before this. Or maybe now you have a whole different idea of where you want to be. And it takes patience, takes time. This is something that if you told me when I was 18, 19 years old, I'd look at you probably and give you the respect, but I wouldn't really entertain you much longer. I apologize. I had to plug in my computer there. It's running low on battery. But like I was saying, this kid, I genuinely believe amazing things will happen for him. I mean, he's not the most spiritual guy, but he's genuinely one of the most positive, happy, always smiling type of guys you'll ever meet. And I hope the world. I really hope the most, the world for him in a good sense. Not that he falls in love with what the world has to offer, but genuinely can receive God's grace in a way that only comes with experience. And I believe this experience could possibly do that for him. And he's just such a great kid, really is. I mean, that's someone everyone deserves to have in their life, or should have in their life. But anyways, back to what I was getting at. Or I'm sorry, back to the next subtopic, rather. Purposeful pain. Now, this is going to be a tougher topic. This is going to be a topic that many people may find very personal, that they'd be very quick to say, well, you know what, you don't know my circumstances, or my circumstances are 1,000 times different than yours. And I'm not going to argue that with anybody. I have, from a very young age, by no means were we ever rich, but I always had a roof over my head, always had clothes on my back, always food on the table, never had to worry about nothing. Even ended up going to a Catholic high school that I was really passionate about going to, even though we weren't, again, the richest people in the world, but I wanted to pursue a dream in basketball. My parents, the two hardest working people I've ever met, the two most amazing people I've ever met, made it happen for me. So of course I have experienced some times in my life that are tough, just like everyone has. Doesn't matter what your circumstances are. But again, by no means am I trying to say I'm, from a part of, this world where it's so extremely tough that you don't know if you're going to eat again, or if I'll have any, a place to sleep or whatever. I was always comfortable in that sense. And I want to acknowledge that and put that forward first. I know a lot of people like to, not a lot of people, but there would be a lot of times where people kind of try and quote unquote gaslight, if you will, their circumstances with growing up, just for the sake of either sympathy or for the sake of pretending that they can relate. I'm not trying to do that here. I'm just trying to tell you that this is what I've learned from my own experiences and what I believe is applicable to everybody else. Sometimes maybe tougher than others, and people will receive a certain level of pain, a certain level of trauma, whatever it is, because the Lord knows they can handle it. And that'll ultimately, if they turn to Him, they'll grow in a way they never knew was possible, and they'll be able to help others in the same situation without having to go through it in maybe the same way, with the assistance of the person who did trust in God. So purposeful pain. This could even be, I wouldn't call it a sensitive subject for myself, but definitely something that I will remember and take with me for the rest of my life, without getting the specifics, of the things I went through. Not that I would expect any of you to elaborate in the same way, but there's times when you genuinely are like, wow, how long is it going to be like this? How long is it going to suck like this? And again, I'm referring to people who are establishing their roots in faith, or trying to, or just look to understand better. How much longer will you go through this? And you could ask yourself that 1,000 times. And quite frankly, I think every time you do, maybe this isn't true or not, but you're ultimately just extending that period of time if you're trying to trust in God with it. If you ask me, I believe the Lord's intention with everything is to help us trust Him in a way that exceeds human reason. Trusting Him in a way that ultimately will set you up to never trust the world again, to never want to trust society again, to trust it the way you were taught to trust it. That's a better way to word it. I don't want you guys to walk around paranoid. I want you to understand that just because things happen in the world does not mean that we were supposed to play by the same rules in a sense. Obviously, I'm not telling you to go break laws, but there's to kind of to trust that, oh, okay, this will happen, because I deserve it, good karma, or this or that. I just think it's crazy that people actually believe that. And I'm not trying to, rain on your parade with your beliefs or anything, but to trust the world with anything, to try and think that your pain is coming from the world and the world will do right by you, sorry to say, is foolishness. And that's the thing with faith, is that purposeful pain, or that all pain with faith is purposeful. It is for us. It is for His glory. It is to better us it's to better those around us and for His glory. And that's the thing with faith that nothing else gives you. It's that, every single thing you experience, everything has purpose. Everything. And even for those who, like the title of this video, finding your purpose, are struggling to find their purpose, you can always do so in the times you least expect it. And it's going to be at a time where, yes, you have to take action, but you have to believe. I mean, you really, really have to believe. You have to force yourself to believe. Even if you don't feel it, just say, Lord, I believe. And I know that may seem foolishness, or it may seem silly, but the one thing a spiritual advisor of mine told me is that love is in the will. Meaning that it doesn't matter how dull you may feel, how worn out and just destroyed you may be. You need to do what needs to be done in regard to your faith. And even if it means just mouthing your prayers, just sitting there in silence and saying, Lord, I don't feel anything. I'm just sick of the position I'm in. Do what needs to get done. Because just like a mother, when she gets up in the morning to get her kids ready for school, to pack their lunch, to then go off to a long work day, to then come back and pick them up, to then maybe have to work again, to sports, to this, that, and the other. That's not something you jump for joy. You jump for joy in with the oh my goodness, excuse me, tongue twister there. That is not something you jump for joy with in the morning. When you first wake up, that is not going to exhilarate you to do it. But why does a mother do it? Out of love, because love is in the will. Love for the Lord is in the will. Love for your peers, whoever it may be, whether it's your family, your friends, love for them is in the will. So understanding that you may feel the way you do, the pain you may feel, the nothingness that you may feel, there's purpose to it. There's all purpose to it. And, maybe this kind of veered off in a way of more of serving God, in a sense that it was actually finding maybe what you want to do with your life. But to kind of, really summarize all of it, it all just comes down to trust. It comes down to trust, blind trust, but also acting, because nothing changes and nothing changes is one of the greatest things that I think I've heard as of recent. I actually heard it from Theo Vaughn. It's kind of funny. That's the first person I heard it from. And it's a culmination of those two that'll ultimately get you where you want to be. And one can't work without the other. It can't. Because people will want to have such levels of blind trust that they think God is going to deliver that dream job to them on a silver platter, that their business is going to thrive just because they've prayed on it, however long. And again, that is very, 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 very possible. I'm not trying to ever limit God's power. But what I am saying is that God will reward those who work hard on His behalf, on behalf of those around them, and are always acting in a selfless manner, putting others before themselves. Those are the people that God will reward. And it's of the utmost importance to remain in prayer. Of course it is. But acting is just as important. Acting in accordance with His will. Acting in accordance of serving. And again, I know this video has now reached almost 30 minutes now. This episode's reached almost 30 minutes now. And a lot of the things may sound redundant. It may seem like I'm kind of touching on the same topics and kind of saying the same things over and over again. But it's like I'm trying to explain 50 different things, excuse me, that all tie back to the same topics of blind trust and acting. So as much as I would love literally to help every single person find their purpose in a way, not that I've by any means found mine perfectly. I just have a job that I'm very passionate and I really enjoy, and some hobbies as well, like this that I'm doing. But I would love to. I mean, I love giving input. I love receiving, other people's take on things. I love that. That's part of the reason, or one of the greater reasons of why I'm even doing this. So I do have a social media at Tub Pod Official. So the Unwavering Believer, but Tub Pod Official on Instagram, TikTok as well, and YouTube. But please, I'm encouraging you guys to reach out. I don't know who you are. If you made it this far, I'm beyond grateful. You have no idea. To listen to my voice for 30 freaking minutes. I mean, geez, God bless you. So please reach out on something. I mean, computer's starting to get a little loud here. Just please reach out. I don't know if we're close or not. If we have not talked in 10 years, if you don't know who the heck I am or I don't know who the heck you are, reach out. If we're mutual acquaintances, I don't care. I'm genuinely saying I would love to talk to you. I don't care who you are or our past. If we were arch enemies in high school when I was still, just a complete moron. If we are, whatever, I'd be more than happy to talk to any single one of you. I really would. I'd be passionate about it, really. And just to have another take for my own personal life, if that's something you wanted to do too. I genuinely love that. That is why I'm doing what I do. So to wrap this up, again, I'm sorry if I veered off for a little bit or if this computer's getting kind of loud. I'll just going to try and summarize this really quickly. To find your purpose in this life, we're going to do two things. We're going to trust blindly in Christ, and of course that's one thing that comes with a lot of others, like faith, like obviously worship, prayer, and Bible study, and action, because nothing changes if nothing changes. Okay? So understand, in this faith, in this walk with Christ, you need to trust in Him with every single step, every breath you take, which can be tough. By no means am I saying to be a robot in doing these things. I understand how it could be, and I still live that out every day. Trying to live it out, And action and faith is what's going to get you to where you want to be. Okay? And I'm sorry if this sounds very repetitive in what I was saying. I'm still trying to get this all down now, so please bear with me. But that being said, we're a little over 30 minutes now. I cannot even express the words of how grateful I am that you guys are even here listening to my voice for this long, because that itself is mind-boggling. So thank you. You guys are the absolute best. If there's anything else you want to hear from me, see from me, or just want to talk, like I said, you can reach out anywhere. Be more than happy to talk to you guys. And I think that's all I got for today. You guys are awesome. God bless you. And as always, to the next episode.